Daring Abroad, brought to you by our friends at Remitly. Download the Remitly app to send money back home.
Hello there and welcome to the program, and today's show is electric as we focus on the future of transport in Kenya. And to set the ball rolling, this is what is coming up.
Can see here it's no engine, it's only space.
Nothing. An amazing first-hand experience in an electric vehicle in Norway while on a daring abroad trip some time back. That sector is now becoming a reality in Kenya.
E-mobility and electric vehicles is a revolution of this century, and this is the revolution we want.
Kenya is the continental leader in e-mobility.
From bicycles to motorcycles to buses.
We have 17 buses, 5 are currently on the road.
We assemble these bicycles in Tilisi.
We do have 9 charging station network within Nairobi.
My customers, they really love it. They love the smooth run.
Find out why Kenya is going electric in the transport sector and lessons from abroad.
We cut less on the importation of fuel. We have less emissions.
Great. Let's now go to the roads and find out just how electric are we in the transport sector. My daring abroad trips in places like Europe, USA, and Asia have given me a lot of exposure to innovation in the transport sector.
Can see here it's no engine, it's only space.
Nothing.
But the most memorable experience was when I got a ride in an electric vehicle for the first time in Fredrikstad City in Norway in 2015. That's about 7 years ago. That time, electric vehicles was just an idea in Kenya. But the sector is now becoming a reality. I had my first ride on an electric bus in Nairobi recently. Also on an electric motorcycle or boda boda. I also had lunch delivered at my office via an electric bicycle.
Hey, Mambo. Yeah, thank you.
Statistics indicate that by March 2023, there were over 1,350 registered electric vehicles in Kenya, among them two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and four-wheelers. Addressing a recent summit in Nairobi by the American Chamber of Commerce, President William Ruto underscored the government's commitment to support innovation in the transport sector.
Looking forward to Africa's future, Kenya is also the continental leader in e-mobility and 2- and 3-wheeler electric vehicle and buses. We just came from Brussels to expand discussions around e-mobility and to make it possible for us to continue to lead the way in ensuring that we green not just our grid, but we also green our roads and rail.
So this is a 60 kilowatt DC charger. It's a fast charger. So this particular can charge 2 buses.
Moses Nderitu is the Chief Revenue Officer of Basigo, an e-mobility startup looking to revolutionize the public transportation sector in Africa by providing public transport bus owners with a cost-effective electric alternative to fuel. He takes us through some of the features of their buses.
Every seat has a seat belt with current regulations. Every seat has a USB port. You can charge your phone. And at every seat, you have a bell. So if you want to come out, you just press and it
The
yeah.
CCTV enables the driver to monitor movement
He
of
can,
the passengers.
yes. The bus requires Wi-Fi to run the telematics, so that if you are an owner or us at Basigo, we can actually monitor where the bus is, how much charge it is, anything to do with that. Number two, and more important, is for the passenger comfort. So what the operators have told us, because of the popularity of the bus, they want to create a situation whereby you acquiring your seat on a bus at a certain time is guaranteed. So we've created for them a booking app, which we call Journey, and in that app, what they will be able to do is, as a passenger in the routes where the electric buses are, you can actually pre-book your seat. So typically this bus will come here at night if it was in passenger operations, and this is the DC charger. So with this, open the charging port.
You have to open first.
Yeah.
Kama ile ya mafuta.
Kama ya mafuta. Alafu unadunga hapo.
So it will take how long?
If it's very low, let's say like at 10%, it will take 4 hours on slow charge. But you can also connect it to charge fast at 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. Every evening you charge.
So ikichajiwa evening, it run the whole day.
It should run the whole day. As batteries get bigger, we will be able to have longer distances, but also there will be an opportunity to create charging points on the road. So basi ikienda, let's say isimame Nakuru, watu wanakula lunch, usually it stops for half an hour in a charge.
You will be surprised to learn that the founders of Basigo started it in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic.
When the pandemic started and the country shut down, from Nairobi, you could see two things that we've not seen since we were kids, for us who grew up in Nairobi. You could see Mount Kilimanjaro and you could see Mount Kenya. What then was missing was air pollution. And if we look at a city like Nairobi, 40% of all the pollution is from public transport. It's from the diesel fumes that come from these vehicles. So that inspired our founders to actually start this e-mobility company.
The company, which is headquartered in Nairobi, eventually rolled out 2 buses in 2022, which it has piloted for 1 year.
Those buses have been running between Dandora and City Stadium, and another one between the airport and Allsops, and they have done over 100,000 kilometers each, carried over 200,000 passengers combined, and that pilot has been very successful. On the back of that pilot, we have now then moved to the commercial phase, where we've now are selling these buses to different circles in the city. So we've got some running from Sivo or what we call Kariobangi South to Gill House, which is route number 23. We've got Super Metro running on the Kikuyu route and Ngong route. We've got City Hopper still doing the airport route, and a few others who are in different stages of acquiring these buses. In total, we have 17 buses. 5 are currently on the road, and the other 12 are in different stages of purchase.
Hii basi ni tofauti na zile zingine, manake hii basi inakaa ni kama iko na stima ndani yake. Nasikia
Pilot buses came fully built, fully assembled, everything. We needed to do that to be able to start. And then these ones, like the ones behind us here, came partially assembled. So the bus was done, but all the interiors were done locally. But moving forward from later this year, what we want to be able to do is bring a rolling chassis, build the body here, and do local assembly. So we have a partnership with Associated Vehicle Assemblers, which is AVA in Mombasa, who will actually do the actual assembly. For us to be able to provide these buses commercially at a cost that makes sense to the Kenyans, we must assemble them locally, and we also want to be able to transfer that technology. So you cannot transfer technology if you're importing the buses fully built. For these ones, no, they have come partially assembled, but in moving forward, will be local assembly.
Electric bicycles, or call them two-wheelers, are also becoming quite common in Nairobi, claiming their space in the e-mobility sector. They are fit for delivery business. EB is currently the biggest supplier of these vehicles in Kenya.
We assemble electrical bicycles. So an electrical bicycle is actually your traditional bicycle with a motor and a battery attached to it, and then it actually gives you an extra push. So where your typical rider might be able to cycle 40 kilometers on an electrical bicycle, you're able to do 80 to 100 kilometers with so much more ease without getting the fatigue that your traditional rider would get on a long distance ride.
Where do you assemble these?
We assemble these bicycles in Tilisi. Tilisi is in Limuru. about 30 kilometers from here. So the parts come from all over the world. The frame comes from India, the battery China and Uganda, and then some of the parts are from Nairobi. So think of your tires and a few other parts that are made here in Nairobi. We also have local artisans that help us build different parts on the bike. And then in Tilisi, we assemble all these parts together, and what you get is an electrical bicycle.
So far, there are about 200 bikes from EB on the road, and these are through selling and leasing.
So think of your delivery guy on Jumia, Glovo. Those guys have a fleet of vehicles that do deliveries. So our second part is we hire guys to help Jumia and Glovo do their fulfillment purposes. So that's the second part of the business.
Now, traditionally, a bicycle has been perceived to be a poor man's mode of transportation, but innovation is helping to change that notion.
We want to change that concept. We want to make it look like this is something that is a smart choice. Anybody can do it. We have seen rich, poor, educated, not learned, all of them come to us and want an electrical bicycle and cycle with the same smile on their face. In countries like the Netherlands, there are more electrical bicycles than there are people. Why is that? It's because people have been encouraged to cycle. It allows for better traffic, it allows for just improving on the environment, it allows for people to be healthier. Those practices then help to improve not just the people, but the environment and the way people associate. So when you're traveling with an electrical bike and you see somebody else on an electrical bike, it creates community.
Let's now turn our attention to yet another two-wheeler, the motorcycle, and in Kenya, the public motorcycle transportation is known as boda boda. Now, when you find charging stations for boda boda across the city, from Kilimani to Kayole, you know it is no longer business as usual. Ampersand is currently the leading supplier of electric boda bodas in the country.
What Ampersand offers is a quality smart battery. The cost of a quality battery is really high. So reducing the cost to the customer, we do offer battery as a service to our customers. By offering battery as a service, we do have a station like what we have right here, which is a charging station. And we do have 9 charging station network within Nairobi. And when the customer comes into our station, it takes about 2 minutes to swap the battery. So the rider is able, using the app, they're able to identify which swap station they will actually go to swap their batteries. So at any given time, the rider does not have to stop anywhere to charge their battery to ensure that they do have enough capacity to give them the range that they need. We've partnered with Total, who actually we are building our charging stations within our Total locations.
According to Ampersand, its solution is designed with taxi drivers in mind. Drivers who tend to be in their late 20s to 30s. They work 6 days a week for an average of 14 hours and covering up to 190 kilometers per day. And the income they generate typically supports about 4 people.
Ampersand started in Rwanda in 2016, first 20 bikes on the road in 2019. And since then, we're going to have more than 1,000 bikes on the road by this month. And we started in Kenya in May last year. We officially launched in Kenya. And in Kenya, we have more than 110 bikes on the road since then.
My customers, they really love it. They love the smooth run. There's no noise, no vibration. They feel like they are in a lift somewhere. My diary now is getting full. I'm even getting well known in the area. And everybody is booking this bike for our next ride.
Statistics indicate that electric vehicle sales doubled in 2021 from the previous year to a new record of 6.6 million. Back in 2012, just 120,000 electric vehicles were sold worldwide. Figures further show that nearly 10% of global car sales were electric in 2021, 4 times the market share in 2019. There were 10.6 million electric vehicle sales globally in 2022. Markets for EVs that stand out are in China, where 1 in every 4 cars bought in 2022 was an EV, the European Union with 1 in 5, and the United States, where nearly 1 in 10 cars purchased in 2022 was an electric vehicle. Kenya too does not want to be left behind, according to immediate former chairman of Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry Nairobi chapter, Julius Opio, who is now the chairman of Environment and Energy Commission at the International Chamber of Commerce, Kenya.
In the last 6 months, we've seen a rapid acceptance of e-mobility, both in private sector and public sector. The government has come out quite strongly to support this initiative, and we're seeing a situation whereby in the next budget statement reading, we're going to see incentives that the government implement. We put in a request to the government, technical discussion paper for consideration, and it's currently under review.
And the Cabinet Secretary for Roads, Transport and Public Works, Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen, says e-mobility is a revolution which Kenya should be prepared for.
And as a government, we don't want to be left behind. We must lead from the front. We are putting in place the policy and the legal framework to guide this sector to ensure that we benefit as a people and as a country from this revolution.
That brings us to the end of part 1 of the show. We have more on benefits, challenges, and way forward regarding e-mobility in Kenya right after the break.
With Remitly, you can send money to Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and over 40 other African countries with low or no fees, so more money gets home. Loved ones can receive their money through familiar options like MTN, M-Pesa, First Bank, Access Bank, and more. Plus, an ever-expanding network of bank deposit, mobile money, and cash pickup availability. You will also get real-time transfer updates so you know where your money is through the whole transfer process. Download the Remitly app today and get a special offer on your first transfer.
Own your dream home for as low as 1.98 million Kenya shillings in Vipingo, Kilifi, and enjoy a flexible payment plan of 10% on signing of the letter of offer and the balance in equal monthly installments within 18 months. Supported by world-class amenities and infrastructure, our estates offer a unique, secure environment with a wide range of outdoor facilities. SMS Vipingo to 22365 or call us today on 0740 400 215. Terms and conditions apply.
You're watching Daring Abroad, brought to you by our friends at Remitly. Download the Remitly app to send money back home.
Great, welcome back. In part 1 of this show, we focused on some of the key players in e-mobility in Kenya. We now shift gears and focus more on policy issues. One of the advantages of going electric is that the innovation promotes the use of clean energy. Yes, e-mobility is environment friendly, and this advantage aligns itself well with sustainable development.
The amount of money we lose every month to foreign exchange for importation of fuel, you know, even the program we are trying to deal with at the moment, the reason why there is inflation in the country is because we are importing a lot of fuel, and when fuel prices go up, it has a very negative impact on our economy.
So if we can have a plan where we transition from the use of fossil fuels to electric vehicles, we shall have significant forex savings. Secondly, in terms of emissions and pollution, we shall see a significant drop in emissions that come from the use of petrol engines and diesel engines.
A cleaner, smart transportation will also contribute to improving our health, and environment benefits are intertwined with economic benefits.
What our bikes offer is essentially a cheaper bike that is cheaper to operate and reducing carbon emission. And most importantly, with our border riders, they are saving between 40 and 50% on the energy cost on a day-to-day basis.
On a daily basis, I normally swap once when I do my daily duties. Like when I cover like 120 to 150 kilometers in my daily runnings. So I find that I can use like 300 Kenya shillings. So for a normal fuel bike, I would like go for like 700, 800 in terms of fuel.
All said and done, there are challenges that make the sector costly for investors, challenges that require policy intervention, according to ICC Kenya, that has been working closely with stakeholders to raise awareness about the sector and recommend to the government initiatives that can help grow the sector.
There have been some challenges in regards to classification of the vehicle. As you're all aware, an electric car does not have an engine. So what happens in the classification, we have what we call CCs. So you can talk about 2000 CCs and 1.5 CCs and that kind of thing. In electric vehicles, we don't use CCs. We use wattage. So what happens is, we've highlighted this issue such that when vehicles are brought in, they should be classified, electric vehicles should be classified differently from internal combustion engines, and the clearance at the port should be fast-tracked. Then we've also informed the government when it comes to fiscal incentives, taxation. How do we ensure that we tax the sector in a way that investors are able to invest in e-mobility and end users are able to use it in a productive and efficient manner? So one key thing is we've identified the battery, the lithium-ion battery, as one of the key components whereby the tax incentive should not be punitive.
Such incentives are expected to boost local assembly of electric vehicles.
Assembly of what we call ICE vehicle or internal combustion vehicles is a mature industry. There are vehicles that have been assembling, General Motors or Isuzu Kenya, AVA have been assembling vehicles here for 50 years. Now, we need that accommodation to be able to catch up with them, and we cannot start where they are today. So we would then require for electric vehicles for those regulations to be relaxed a little, but time-based. So you're not saying relax them for, if you can get 3 to 5 years to be able to bring up that industry, and then that would be a good opportunity. At the same time, get the same tax reliefs that local assemblers are getting and what they have earned over 50 years. If we can get that same opportunity, then we would be able to grow an industry here. Closer to home, the best place in terms of policy, in terms of both fiscal and non-fiscal is Rwanda. Rwanda today has zero tax on importation of electric vehicles. They have zero VAT. They actually have an e-mobility tariff, which we've also just recently got.
We are referred to as a niche environment. There's a lot of growth that still needs to happen. There's a lot of innovation, creativity that still needs to be supported. Around the world, if you look at electric mobility, the cost of that is low. It allows for growth and it allows for adaptation. Right now, we're still learning. So with the learning, people are not very aware, the government is not very aware, major stakeholders are not very aware of what needs to happen in order to support the industry.
As Ampersand, we do assemble our own batteries, so that will create more jobs in terms of assembly of our batteries. And also in terms of the bike itself, we do assemble our bikes, so that is more job creation. And the government actually has a requirement for local content for us to get some incentives. So we do actually source, when we're doing local assembly, for us to get the incentives, we do use local manufacturers to source some of the parts for the motorcycle.
What we are trying to do is to now quickly work on legal and policy framework. It starts with our CAB memo, which has been pending around for about 2 months because of consultations around ministries. I really believe that in another 2 weeks I should be able to present the CAB memo to the cabinet memo, to approve the stages and processes we are going to take. Thereafter, in less than 2-3 weeks, I will establish a task force. That task force now is going to work on the policy and legal framework. That policy framework includes how to roll out the charging systems, the infrastructure for charging, the time for charging, and all that. Because then that is one of the biggest challenges we will have.
Currently, electric vehicles are operating mainly in Nairobi and its environs, but the sector is expected to spread to other parts of the country with improved charging infrastructure, among other changes.
I think we are the third contributor to our economy as a transport sector. And because of that, we can even do better if we now go electric. There is no other sector and ministry that deals with persons at the bottom of the pyramid than this ministry. We deal with the border sector and we deal with the matatu sector. And those are people who are at the bottom of the pyramid. Organized public transport system will create more jobs than a disorganized one, An application of electric vehicles to save cost of transport will mean that more people use public transport. And when more people will use public transport, of course, you employ more people in that sector. If you have border sector accessing electric motor vehicle and saving 11,000 per month, it means, therefore, we have saved the people at the bottom of the pyramid from an expenditure on fuels and so forth, which expenditure can now go to their savings.
I find this bike very nice, very economical than the petrol bike because it's cheaper. And this one doesn't have that service of oiling all the time. So this one, it is just like a phone. When you wake up in the morning, you just see what percentage is it and where can I go.
It's important for us to prepare our people. Europe, Germany are already saying that by 2032, there is no manufacture and delivery of non-electric vehicle to Germany itself and the entire European Union. We cannot be left behind to be the dumping site for biofuels and gas-emitting vehicles. We must be at the forefront in terms of preparing ourselves to have these vehicles. In 5 years, I predict, in the next 5 years, it will be normal to talk about an electric vehicle, an electric motorcycle, and I think it is incumbent upon us in the ministry itself to prepare for this revolution.
Very interesting there, and I hope the show was a smooth ride for you. And as the Cabinet Secretary in charge of transport, Onesmus Murkomen Kipchumba, put it, the next revolution in Kenya is e-mobility. And on that note, we come to the end of the show. Always a pleasure having your company. Many thanks for watching, and see you again next time.
Daring Abroad, brought to you by our friends at Remitly. Download the Remitly app to send money back home.